Good afternoon. We got a lot of things to talk about. We've been active, obviously, in the last 48 hours or 24 hours or so. First, I'll start at the quarterback position. Obviously, with Ben's elbow injury and it being deemed surgical, we had to make a few moves there. We did. We brought Hodges up from the practice squad. We thought he was our best option because of his experience with us throughout the offseason and into the preseason in terms of knowing what it is that we do. And obviously we brought him back after we traded Josh, so he's been back into the fold last week. He knows the ins and outs of what's going on. He provides the best short-term options for us. We wanted to fortify position with some depth, so we acquired Paxton Lynch and put him on our practice squad. The fact that he has practice squad eligibility provides awesome flexibility for us, where we can infuse him into the culture and teach him and evaluate him without occupying a 53-man roster spot. So those are some of the variables that came into the decision-making at the quarterback position. Obviously, we're disappointed for Ben, and from a team perspective, we had a great deal of confidence in Mason. It's the natural process that is team sport. One man goes down, the next man steps up. We're excited about this opportunity for Mason, and we're looking forward to rallying around him and watching him meet the standard of expectation, to be quite honest with you. He's a second-year guy. We put a lot on second-year guys in terms of stepping up and growing. To this point, he's met some of those things. We often talk about it in other positions. It's probably a more fluid discussion in other positions, but really he's done a lot of the similar things. First, he showed up in great physical condition, and that allowed him to take off from there. I think if you evaluate his performance throughout the preseason, it is indicative of a guy that's taken a step. Obviously, he did some really good things for us in the game on Sunday, but over the long haul, as we continue to go through this thing, he'll have an opportunity to show you the steps that we expect second-year men to take. We've had a number of other injuries that caused us to make some subsequent moves. Sean Davis has been placed on IR with a shoulder injury. We went out and acquired Mika from the Dolphins. We really studied Mika really closely in the process of leading up to the draft. It was no secret that we were in the market for a high-end safety. In fact, we ended up drafting Edmonds later in the round. We did our due diligence. We looked at Mika. We knew it was somewhat of a pipe dream because of his global positioning in the draft, but having gone down there for both Alabama Pro Days and interviewed him and spent time with him, it really made this process a clean process for Kevin and I in terms of decision making, because we had spent that time with him. We did evaluate him, and we did have a great deal of comfort in his abilities. We're excited about infusing him into the fold. He will be playing the safety position this weekend in the game. We're going to quickly get him up to speed. He's on the ground now as we speak, and so we got almost a full week to prepare him to play. He's a sharp guy. That was very evident in getting to know him in the draft process. It's also really evident when you watch Miami Dolphin tape and see the myriad of things that they ask him to do during his time there positionally. He's played corner, outside corner, inside corner, both safety positions, sub-package linebacker positions. You can't do the many things that the Dolphins asked him to do schematically without being a really sharp guy. At some point, it's going to be an asset to us, but obviously in the short term, we're not going to move him around a great deal. This first time out, we're going to anchor him down and allow him to focus on one position and put him in the very best position to be a positive contributor to our efforts this weekend that way. Really excited about that acquisition. Some other injuries that we'll sort through and get a sense of availability as we go through the week. First, let me start with Rosie Nix. He was out last week. We should anticipate him being out again this week. We had a number of other guys who have questionable availability, and that, as always, will be based on practice availability and then their participation within practice. Those guys are Vince Williams with a hamstring that's being evaluated and determining the degree of that, Chickalo with his foot, Connor with his knee, and Joe Hayden with his shoulder. Although I mentioned Joe Hayden was dealing with that shoulder a week ago, and he was able to play in the game with no negative things really to speak of. Probably go through a similar process this week in terms of getting him ready to play. So those are the medical things, the subsequent moves associated with those things. I'll say this, we feel comfortable with the team that we've assembled. Obviously, we deal with some circumstances that will force us to adjust and, play a certain style that puts us in a position to win. We're willing and capable of doing that. Our level of expectations in terms of our performance will not change. It has not changed. We're getting on that plane and going out west to win a football game, but we got a lot of work between now and then. It's easy to talk about. It's more difficult to do. We're excited about rolling up our sleeves with the guys when they get in this building tomorrow and starting that process of formulating a plan that highlights their skills, and under the circumstances, we're going to be cautious in terms of some of the things that we ask them to do. We want them to play fast. We're going to have to play fast. We're playing against a team, obviously, it's off to a hot start and it's got 2 significant road wins to start their season, and they're playing in their home opener, all of which we respect. I'll spend a little time talking about San Francisco, and then I'll open it up to questions. They're a 2-0 outfit, and really, when you look at their tape, you see why they're 2-0. Last week, man, they ran the ball really well. They really leveled the playing field environmentally in terms of some of the things that's difficult about playing in Cincinnati. I thought they controlled the line of scrimmage. They ran the ball. They ran the ball with a number of backs. That allowed them to get significant chunks in the play action and misdirection passing game. But it starts there for us. We got to do a really good job of minimizing the run. They got an awesome supply of weapons in terms of the passing game, and it starts with George Kittle, their tight end. He's a special tight end. It's been fun just getting to watch him and getting familiar with some of the things that he does. He's significant in terms of the catching of the football, but his run after is really special, man. To watch a tight end turn short throws and catches into long gains and touchdowns is impressive, and he's not only got a couple of weeks of that, but he's got a career of that since he's been in San Francisco, man. We got to do a good job of minimizing him. At the wideout position, they got a stable of really quality guys. Goodwin, former Buffalo Bill, is really talented, two-sport guy, man, really athletic. He provides splash for them. They got a new weapon in Deebo Samuels, a really versatile wide receiver out of the University of South Carolina, man. He's good in the jet sweep game, reverse game. They work to get the ball in his hands in a variety of ways, much like the Gamecocks did when he played for those guys. They got a nice stable of backs. I know they've missed Tevin Coleman some, but boy, they got a nice stable of backs. All of those guys are really quick to the perimeter and challenge you in terms of gap integrity. Garoppolo really kind of makes it all go, man. You see the comfort that he has within the system. I'd imagine, although he didn't get an opportunity to play physically a year ago, you see the growth and development in terms of intellect, in terms of his understanding of what they're asking him to do. He's a central reason why they're operating so fluidly on offense. If you look at them on the defensive side of the ball, much like Seattle, it's interesting how divisions might have personalities from time to time in aspects of play. Defensively, they got some strong similarities to Seattle and the Rams also. They're 4-down football teams. They play a lot of people up front. They have some people that specialize in quelling and minimizing the run. They have some people that specialize in getting after the quarterback in terms of rushing the passer. Highlight some of those guys. In the passing game, the acquisition of D Ford is significant. The drafting of Bosa is significant. The two ends, the Oregon guys that are capable of playing as interior rushmen in passing situations are a formidable tandem, two guys that need to be dealt with. And at the linebacker level, much like we were talking about Wright and Wagner last week, we say the same thing about Quan Alexander and company on the second level in this group. They're a fundamentalist outfit. They play fast. They create turnovers. They ride the wave that their four-man rush provides. They produce splash plays, and I think you see that as evidence in the games that they've played thus far. I think they had 2 pick sixes in week 1 that allowed them to win in a hostile environment in Tampa in terms of getting the season started. So, man, I could talk for days. We got a lot of work ahead of us. But again, San Francisco and their challenges aside, we need to get focused on us and our divisional labor and the readiness of our men, given some of the things that I said earlier, and we're excited about doing it and putting together a plan that we can take out west to San Francisco this weekend. Be happy to address any questions.
Mike, how long it might be before you can start the rehab process?
I do, but you guys know I try to avoid getting into specifics in this forum. I'm not a doctor, and I think, a lot of those things will be confirmed when he gets his surgery. I'll probably wait until after that to get into specific details about what they found and the prognosis in terms of recovery. We released some statements, I think, yesterday that really kind of outline our collective sentiments as we sit here right now, and Ben released a statement as well. He fully intends to come back from this injury, and everything that we've heard, we're comfortable that is a strong possibility.
When is the surgery?
I think it's being hardened up as we sit here right now. I'll be in the upcoming days, but I don't have a specific date and time as I stand here right now.
Mike, how would you characterize the phone call with Mason Monday? You talked about learning that he was going to be taking over.
He knew Sunday. That doesn't require any conversations. He went and played in a significant portion of the game on Sunday. I'd imagine he found out like everybody else. It's not something that you call a meeting for. He's more than ready for the opportunity. He aches for Ben, but at the same time, he's excited about having an opportunity to deliver for his teammates and ready to prove that his overall readiness.
Mike, how much of the decision to make the trade for Minka Fitzpatrick was because of Sean's injury, and how much of it was because you saw an opportunity to get a good young player?
I think Sean's injury was a significant component of it, certainly.
Like a lot of people, since so rarely do the Steelers trade a first-round pick, I think going back to the late 60s, why this year, why now with this player at this time?
I think it's just our overall level of comfort about the player first and foremost. Like I mentioned, it was no secret that we were in the market for a safety when he came out. We did our due diligence on all of those guys, and obviously he was a guy that I went to Tuscaloosa twice in the draft process for. So when you get in these circumstances where you're talking about possibilities, there was a sense of readiness, a sense of knowing among us about his capabilities, his character, his football abilities, and his abilities to fit within what we do. All of those boxes had been checked prior to the draft, and he's still very much a young guy. It's really exciting from our perspective to we were excited about the potential of getting one of the top-notch safeties in that class, and a short period of time later, we have a tandem from that class, and that's pretty exciting to think about those guys having an opportunity to play together as soon as this weekend, but big picture to grow together systematically.
When you say Minka is going to have, you'll keep him anchored this weekend to get him comfortable, will that then limit his snap count, or can he get the full count?
I don't anticipate, that limiting his snap count. I mean that, he's a multi-talented player, and at some point we're going to utilize those talents as an asset to us. But we're going to get him started on a stable ground this week in terms of his contribution, and that means playing one position.
Based on his familiarity with the defense in just 1 week, will that change or limit the kind of defensive calls you're able to make Sunday?
I think we'll make that determination as we get closer to game time. But again, based on what I know about him, researching him in the draft and looking at the myriad of things that he did while in Miami, I'm not concerned about this guy being able to play good football for us on a significant number of snaps this weekend.
Coach, your team's mental focus and psyche is so important to the season. Is this the most difficult challenge you've had in your career with Ben going down?
Man, I hadn't thought about that. You guys know I'm not a big picture guy. There's enough significant challenges in front of us, and that's where we spend our time, not only in terms of Ben's injury, but, we had a number of injuries in that game, significant players, Sean Davis and others. So, it is our job to keep this train rolling as things of that nature happen. And if anything, from a competitor standpoint, man, it energizes me and us. We're excited about balling up our fists and fighting together.
Mike, with or without Sean's injury, how much concern?
I'm sorry, which guy? Okay, good, let's do it.
Mike, with or without Sean's injury, how much concern was there about the defensive secondary against the passing game through the first 2 games and what you're going to face this week with opponents in the AFC North, and just how much the NFL has become very pass-oriented?
I think all of us share those levels of concerns in today's NFL, but Sean's injury was significant in terms of making the decision to do the move that we did. And I'd be less than genuine if I said otherwise.
Mike, was his injury season
Were
ending?
you aware of any discomfort that Ben was experiencing with the elbow before Sunday's game?
No, not anything of any significance that would, lead us in the direction that we've gone. No.
Mike,
I'm
do
sorry?
you know if Sean's injury season ended?
We're going to put him on IR. Obviously, IR in today's NFL, you have the potential for a designation to return. But as we sit here, we've placed him on IR.
No one else? Like, about the, one thing about the Niners game, Kittle, he is not busted loose, so far this year, but he's been pretty steady, 50-something yards per game. Has that been the result of them going to other targets? Has he freed up other guys? Has there been more tension on him? Can you just speak about watching out for him this week?
He's just a really talented player. He's got a solid game across all areas of tight end play. He's a really sound blocker. They got a lot of tight end side run game, man, and I think they ran for 250 or so last week in Cincinnati. He had a lot to do with that. So, this guy's impacting the game and impacting the game significantly. Stats don't always tell the story. We know what he's capable of in terms of the passing game, and got a great deal of respect for it. Everybody else does, too, as well. So I'm sure it's some of the things that you mentioned.
Mike, Mason has a long relationship with James Washington. Do you anticipate that relationship maybe leading to a more prominent role for James, who will be an independent based on?
I think that might be an unintended consequence of having both guys. I know that we've seen evidence of that in the time that they've been here, and that's a cool thing.
Do you anticipate a change in the amount of snaps among your wide receiver group?
Yeah, but we're determining that as we game plan and formulate a distribution of labor for this week.
Alternating running backs, Snell and Sims, to determine who might have the hotter hand?
Again, I'm not ready to say that James Conner is not going to be a full participant in this game. I will let his practice participation be our guide, and then everybody else's divisional labor will tear down from there.
Mike, I understand it's not your main objective in the Minka deal of getting the player was, but how much of it should be a message to your locker room, your players, that you believe this season is far from over despite Ben's injury?
I think our team knows that. I don't think we need to send a message by acquiring players to do it. We acquired players to win, and they understand how we're wired in that regard.
Coach, Russell Wilson was able to run on you in the second half. You reviewed the tape. Have you figured out why? Were the linebackers running out of there? Or?
It was negligence on our part in some instances in terms of rushing hard and smart. The significant one was a 3rd and long. We had an opportunity to get the ball back. We rushed 5 people in an effort to keep him in the pocket, and he still found a means to escape. So obviously we take responsibility for that, but I'd be remiss if I didn't compliment Russell Wilson. He's a dynamic quarterback, a veteran quarterback. That guy found an escape in the midst of a 5-man rush that was pretty significant at a significant moment of the game. So you got to tip your cap to him as well.
Mike, what do you make of Dante Moncrief's struggles so far?
I don't know what to make of it. I know that we haven't been able to depend on him to this point. So he's got some challenges, and we have some challenges moving forward.
Are you going to get a chance to work through that?
We'll see.
Mike, once it was clear that Ben was done for the year, were you able to reach out to Colin Kaepernick,
Excuse me?
the quarterback?
Hey, guys, I went through the process that we went through in terms of our decision-making. We went with Hodges because he's been a significant component of our offseason and training camp, and for short-term fluidity, we thought that was the best, and we acquired Paxton Lynch because he is practice squad eligible, and we can bring him up to speed and evaluate him without utilizing a roster spot. I'm not talking openly about free agents that aren't on our roster. That conversation could go on for days and be endless. There's a number of people at the quarterback position and others that are unemployed in today's NFL. I'm not going to use this forum to do that.
Speaking of Hodges, how do you feel about his leadership qualities if his number is called?
Man, I have no idea. I'm more concerned about the quality of his play. First things first. Leadership is something that kind of comes with that position. He's probably been a quarterback all his life, so some of the things that naturally come with the position he has and has displayed. But our focus right now is just his overall readiness in terms of being ready to play and execute and articulate the things that he needs to do in order to get this thing moving if called upon.
What are the challenges going to the West Coast, and have you thought about making any alterations to the travel?
We've made some alterations, but Nothing significant. We're going to get up and go on Saturday morning and kind of operate on a East Coast time, if you will, in an effort to get a fluid night's rest and be ready to play on what will be a 4:25 East Coast time kickoff on Sunday.
Mike, not looking for an opinion on the pass interference rule. I'm asking for a question of procedure. Are you allowed as a coach, when you're thinking about challenging a non-pass interference call, to challenge the element of whether or not it's been deemed catchable? Like sometimes the ref will say it's too far over the receiver's head, it's not catchable. Can you challenge that part of it? Are you allowed?
All elements of the play is open for challenge when you throw a challenge flag. So yes.
So in theory, like for instance, if a player's on the sidelines and you're not sure if he's going to come down in bounds, the refs say we don't think he's going to make it, you can challenge that.
Correct.
Okay.
Mike, what is Hodges' state of readiness?
We'll see. We'll see. You know, we got to strike a delicate balance of getting Mason the reps that he needs in order to be able to function as I started this week and work to develop Hodges, and we'll continue to work to strike that balance. But our first priority, obviously, is Mason and his readiness, and then secondarily Duck.
Mike, do you anticipate the personality of the offense to change with Mason back there?
No, not at all.
Mike, it's a new thing for you to go into a game where you have both a new starting quarterback and essentially the quarterback, your defensive free safety. What's that like to go into a game possibly having new starters at both positions?
Yeah, I hadn't done it yet. You know, we're just preparing as I stand here right now. I'll let you know on Sunday.
Anyone else? All right, thank you.
Great. Thanks, guys.